Le micro. Yo tout le monde, c'est Esbel, comment allez-vous? On se retrouve pour un petit live qu'on m'avait demandé de faire à ce Stanley Parable. Je ne le connais absolument pas, mais je vais voir déjà les réglages au niveau du son si je me suis pas encore gouré. Donc là c'est bon. Et là aussi, normalement ça doit être bon. Donc là je vérifie si le live s'est bien lancé. Donc là j'ai reçu des petites notifs. Normalement ça doit être bon au niveau du son. Oui, je commence à m'y faire au niveau du son. Ça c'est cool. Hop. Voilà, c'est parfait. Comme ça je peux vous voir si vous répondez et si je dois vous répondre plus précisément par message. Donc je n'ai jamais joué à The Stanley Parable. On me l'a conseillé. C'est un ami qui m'a conseillé ce jeu de le faire en live. Donc je le fais confiance dessus. Donc je ne me suis pas renseigné du tout quel type de jeu c'est ou qu'est-ce que c'est. Donc on va voir. Alors déplacer le curseur jusqu'à ce que l'ordinateur soit à peine visible. On va quand même faire un peu le confort des yeux quand même. En trailer actuel, il est 21h. Déjà c'est 9h. C'est AM, après-midi. Et PM c'est 21h08. Ah, je me souviens même plus, j'ai plus l'habitude de faire AM, PM moi. Les paramètres d'accessibilité sont accessibles depuis le menu principal. Ok. Donc là les petits pré-réglages. Ah, on le voit direct sur le petit ordi. Ah ouais! C'est dans un ordi, dans un ordi, dans un ordi. C'est pas mal.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Il est sorti de son bureau. Là du coup on joue. Ah ouais. Donc je sais pas quoi on a...
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Raté le mémo?
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Ok. Alors c'est quoi le but? C'est de trouver mes collègues et de trouver ce qui se passe. Oh un ordi. Bon, je regarde un peu partout, hein.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Celle de gauche. Ça fait quoi si je vais dans celle de
This
droite?
was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Ah, ça change. Ah, en appuyant sur quoi?
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Première porte à gauche. On continue tout droit. Bon, on va sur quand même la porte
And so he
principale.
detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Et là, on descend. Ok, il a dit pourtant en face.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Ok, bah là pour l'instant, je trouve personne. Ah, on peut l'ouvrir.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Gravi, donc c'est monté. Chef, vous êtes là, chef?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life.
Oh, un code.
Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. And
C'est toi qui me l'as dit.
he stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Alors, c'est quoi le sombre secret qu'on m'a caché? Qu'est-ce donc?
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Pourquoi marcher tout droit? Et man control, c'est contrôle de l'esprit. Et là, c'est marqué escape. J'ai envie de fuir, moi.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Qu'une mort violente. Je vais faire demi-tour.
But of course, Stanley thought better of it and realized he simply had too much to live for. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Ok. Bon, c'est juste suivre, quoi. Caméra. Ok, bah.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Je suis 437, c'est ça? Je suis là-bas. On n'a pas trop d'interaction.
This mind control facility,
On a
it
un
was too
fire
horrible to
104.
believe it couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his
104.
boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Pirate. Et il y en avait un autre là-bas, j'avais vu. Je sais pas s'il y a une importance.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Ok. Et comment je détruis ça? Faudrait un peu de lumière aussi. C'est très sombre. 5. Ok, bah j'avance hein, pour voir.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Sur off quoi.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved.
C'est quoi cette histoire?
Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him. For it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
C'est quoi ce jeu? Et je viens de débloquer le trophée terminer le jeu. Comment ça terminer le jeu aussi vite? Obtenir votre premier trophée? C'est pas
All of
possible.
his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Alors, je vais tout fouiller, cette fois-ci. Même aller dans des zones où je suis pas à l'habitude d'y aller. Où je devrais pas y être, d'ailleurs. On essaye.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct
Ici, on
route
n'avait
to the
pas
meeting room,
tout
and
fouillé.
Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow. Yes, this room. What a beautiful room. What a gorgeous, gorgeous room. Thank goodness Stanley had taken this detour on his way to the meeting room. Life without having experienced this room was now too horrible, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Donc là, je vais aller ici, du coup.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Là, il y a une porte. Non. Do not jump from the cargo life while in the motion.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Comment ça,
This is
pour elle?
it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Elle parle de qui, là?
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Je suis où?
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha! Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife? They want to commit their life to you. I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Je l'écoute ou je l'écoute pas? Allez, on fait une game où on l'écoute pas du tout.
Sorry, but you're in my story now.
T'es sérieux? Vous êtes dans mon histoire maintenant. Bonjour toi.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Je suis obligé. Bon allez, je vais mourir, c'est ça?
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Ah, j'appuie sur toutes les autres touches. Avant.
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Oh, t'as fini de raconter l'histoire là? Pour regarder la télé. Ah, là.
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
Non, y a rien d'autre. Hein.
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Tu viens de me spoiler les autres chemins, là.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it. You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried...
Veuillez mourir. Et là, on est mort.
All of his co-workers were gone.
D'accord, c'est un jeu qui tourne en
Stanley decided to go to
boucle.
the meeting room.
Faut se
Perhaps he
souvenir
had
de
simply
tous les
missed the
chemins
memo.
qu'on prend, voir les itinéraires et tout. Les
When
possibilités
Stanley
qu'il y a.
came to a set of 2 open
Bon, alors,
this
déjà,
was
faut
not
se
the correct
souvenir.
way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
Donc, on va
Perhaps he
finir le
wanted to
chemin de
stop by
droite.
the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Bon, là-bas, c'est la mort.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the
j'ai un
opposite
bouton ici.
door, and got back on track.
Alors, nouveau chemin.
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's, left. Oh, no, it's to the right, my mistake.
Faudrait savoir.
No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please? Now, let's see. We went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
J'aime pas la voiture. Elle va m'écraser. Non, c'est bon.
No, 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 no. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, hmm? Okay, from the top.
Ah, elle est pas mal celle-là.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could
Donc,
it mean?
alors qu'est-ce qu'on pourrait
Stanley decided
trouver
to go to
d'autre?
the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley...
Ah oui, le bouton à la fin.
What? No, I restarted. I swear, I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere, or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay, then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
Alors normalement, c'est par là que je prenais à chaque fois. On va fouiller cette porte. Oh, ça doit être un sacré labyrinthe.
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
Ah, arrête de redémarrer le jeu. Si ça marche pas.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Alors.
Okay, yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
T'es sûr?
Aha! I knew we'd miss something. The story. Here it comes. No, wait. Never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps.
Ok. Et on change de salle.
Now this... Well, I'll be honest. I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win! Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job. Oh,
Okay.
No, I don't feel right about this at all.
Moi
We
non plus.
both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time, I have to restart.
Adventure Line.
All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
J'ai jamais été là. Ah ouais, mais ça voudrait dire que je dois refaire le même chemin pour voir si ça fait quoi. J'ai envie de continuer tout droit.
No, no, I'm down. We're leaving it up to the line from now on.
Oh, c'est pas drôle. Ah, il y a quelqu'un qui faisait du solitaire.
You see? The line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Okay, Stanley, I need to follow this train of thought for a minute. Just stick with me. Now, we can both agree that the nature of existence is in fact a byproduct of one's subjective experience of that existence, right? Okay, now if my experience of your existence rests inside of your subjective experience of this office, is this office in fact the skeleton of my own relative experiential mental subjective construct? Whoa, 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 whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there.
Tu m'étonnes, tu m'as même paumé là.
Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood.
Tu veux nous m'étonner. Je ne m'attendais pas à cette fois-ci. À ce genre plutôt. Ah ouais, ça pète un peu les oreilles. Ah, là cette fois-ci elle a porté permis.
Wait, cut the music, go back
merci.
and look at that fern.
Et allez voir la fougère. On va aller la voir parce que sinon ça va me couper la porte.
Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story.
Pourquoi?
Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything.
Je dois la retenir. Ok.
Wait, what? We're back at the office? No, no, no. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
Ok. Elle est longue cette partie-là.
Oh, no, 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 not again, Line. How could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Well, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart.
Ok.
You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
Ok, vas-y.
Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be? Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for it.
Ok. Et là, j'ai eu l'impression de tourner en rond.
Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
Ok, bah je continue tout droit. Hein.
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere at the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits.
Je peux pas prendre celle de gauche?
Oh, hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times? That's really how all this goes? It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really? No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen?
Autre question.
So, okay.
La fin troublante.
I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story, wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime, if you...
Au final, il a bien relancé le jeu, quoi.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Là, c'est bon. Donc du coup, on reprend tout depuis le début.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors,
Je crois
he
qu'à
entered the door on
droite,
his
on a tout
left.
fait. On va prendre pour une fois la porte de gauche.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find... Oh no, no, not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much in this room. Please take your time.
Et il se souvient aussi que j'ai déjà visité cette pièce par rapport aux autres.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Ah, là, je vais descendre. On n'a pas fait le chemin en descendant.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe He thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming! He yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd, and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
J'adore ton live, je reviens, je vais voir mon ami Bertrand se rouler par terre de rire.
Pas de soucis, Brian. Alors, mais c'est quoi ce jeu?
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Oh là là.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Mariella?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Bah là, ça va être ma 4e fin, ça. C'est un jeu sans fin.
Stanley knew the office layout like the back of his hand. It was only a matter of time before he found the others, wherever they were.
Tiens, le texte
Just a
est
matter
changé.
of time.
Une question de temps. Le temps, c'était pas un 2B4 là?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Un 2B4.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Et tu voulais pas que je rentre dans cette pièce, hein?
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Is it what the boss says? If the boss felt lost, what the boss shows. Alors, si je devais faire une traduction, parce que le boss connaît, c'est ce que le that what, c'est que le boss sait dit faire. Si le boss suffered, c'est pas souffrir. Lose. Then what the boss shows. C'est ce que le boss choisit à la fin. Si les souffrances perdues. Je suis pas très fort en anglais, hein. Alors là, c'est le bureau du boss, là où il faut rentrer le code. Donc un nouveau chemin. On n'a pas emprunté. Carrément bizarre ce jeu, c'est trop bizarre. Il est un peu long l'ascenseur. Oh, bah attendre, hein. Bon, en tout cas, ça m'aide pas par rapport à la nuit blanche que j'ai passée. Ça me fatigue. Je vais sortir. Merci. Voilà, appuie sur le bouton. T'es sérieux? Et on y retourne pour la musique.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Donc là, il faut appuyer sur le bouton. Donc il nous reste un chemin à prendre. Il y a combien de possibilités? Je vais m'absenter un petit instant. Ok. Je me suis juste absenté 5 minutes pour voir.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death. The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
Et si je veux pas
At this
retourner?
point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Bonjour.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Au revoir. Ça s'est arrêté.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
L'histoire a changé. Ok.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Ordinateur de Stanley. Plan du bureau. Ah ouais. Le rythme lors de cette section d'ouverture devait être irréprochable. Ce couloir a été déplacé, modifié. T'atteins les 2 portes au bon moment. Ah! De la contradiction posée par cette pièce. Armoire de rangement. Ah, il y a tous les éléments. Son de bouton. Ah, remerciements. Le bureau. Salle de maintenance. Toutes les images qu'il y a. Zone de guerre, ça je l'avais pas vu. Champ de bataille contre des extraterrestres. Le jeu de... Guerre contre le narrateur. Nous avons réalisé peu après que c'était poussé la plaque trop loin. Trop pas par rapport au ton du jeu. Certains l'ont aussi vu comme une manière de nous moquer des amateurs de jeux de tir. Ce n'est pas notre but. Ok. Ok, c'est pas mal. JRPG, The Worst Game Ever. Le pire jeu ever. Ah, ça passe. Email du narrateur. Are you a rock? Je vais passer. Hein. Salle de pause. Fin de l'appartement, un minuteur, vous laissez 15 secondes pour décrocher le feu. Ne pas décrocher. Intéressant ça. Un endroit où on stockerait des marchandises. Ok. Proposer de rester ou de sauter vers un autre embranchement. Tombe et meurt. Nous, ça nous indique des trucs pour finir certains passages. Maintenance.
Ce jeu va te rendre fou, visage riant aux larmes.
Ah, salut Vincent. Ouais, ça peut me rendre fou, mais pas tant que ça. Je viens de capter que y a plusieurs fins différentes et tout. Et là, ça va faire quoi, la 4e fin, mais là, ça me donne beaucoup d'indices pour les autres fins possibles. Par exemple, le coup du téléphone, je l'ai fait, mais j'ai décroché. Et là, ça m'a donné un indice comme quoi, après les 15 secondes, il y aurait une autre fin si je décrochais pas. Et là, je regarde la salle de maintenance, là. Donc, il y a plusieurs chemins pour pouvoir y accéder. La vente. Tiens, par exemple, il y a une vente. Ok. La maintenance will be hidden depending on your hauteur. Ça veut dire qu'il y a 4 options pour retourner à la maintenance. Ou peut-être pas, c'est juste des plans. C'est à voir. Alors ça, j'ai jamais vu. Levier de la fin relaxante. Ok, je peux rien faire. Fin relaxante. Finalement abandonné et fusionné avec une autre partie du jeu. Modèle de fin relaxante. Le bouton vert, le bouton rouge. Et le bouton bleu, il est où? Pas de bouton bleu. C'est vraiment que lorsque le joueur recommençait depuis le menu échappe. Ok. Attends, par là. J'ai vu exit de l'autre côté donc. Bande-annonce. Ok, donc ça c'est la bande-annonce. Bon, ça c'est ascenseur de la salle des écrans. Monter ou descendre? Pas se souvenir de ce qu'ils avaient regroupé ces deux fins. Je l'ai pas eu tellement, hein, la fin du compte à rebours. Fin de la liberté, celle-là je l'ai eu. Cette maquette du game design. Comment ont été fait les bureaux? Donc après là j'ai fouillé. Bureau de Stanley. Au fur et à mesure des années. Qu'est-ce qui a changé? La caisse, là, les tiroirs qui sont ouverts. Et là, ok. L'ajustement des étagères. Ok. C'est pas mal de savoir les différences et les évolutions par rapport avec le temps. J'ai pas été là. Fin de la liberté. Là, il y a quoi encore? On n'a pas tout vu, hein. Horloge du bureau. Et là, on revient au début. Ok. Bureau du chef. Il y a beaucoup de choses à voir ici, hein. Sous-sol.
To end this injustice now ever, this elevator for sure will get him right back on track to where he was supposed to be in the story. Where were all of his co-workers?
Sympa.
Oh, I don't know. How about their
La voix du narrateur et tout. Bon, on retourne vers l'exit. Donc du coup, le téléphone, on sait qu'il y a une fin.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Bah oui, il rêve d'être libre et c'est ma toute première fin que j'ai eue d'ailleurs,
Can
c'était
you
la
see?
liberté.
Can you see how much they need one another?
Donc le
No,
téléphone,
perhaps not. Sometimes these things
le
cannot be
bouton,
seen.
parce que j'avais appuyé sur off, pourquoi pas sur on.
But listen to me. You can still save those two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Turn off your PlayStation. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let...
Éteindre la console.
All of
430.
his co-workers were gone. Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the trophy? Click a door 5 times? Is that all you think a trophy is worth? No. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks? Now, suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants...
Vas-y, je te fais les infos, hein.
I have to say, I'm still not feeling the satisfaction of witnessing true effort for a noble cause. Perhaps 50 clicks will do it. Yes, almost certainly 50 clicks.
Vas-y, je te l'ai fait 50, hein.
No, I'm still not feeling it. I want this trophy
Tu
to
vas me
have
demander
meant
ça à tous les
something.
coups.
It has to be a true reward for valiant effort. I want to see some hustle, Stanley. I want to see commitment, a willingness to go all the way no matter the cost. Why don't you go put 20 clicks into door number 417?
417. T'exagères.
Oh, great. Now, go click a few times on door 437.
C'est en arrière.
Excellent. I think we're getting somewhere. Now, door 415. Let's give it 10 clicks or so.
415.
Now, back to door number 437.
437. Je vais faire les clics et après je vais retourner à la porte là où c'est marqué New Content. 437
Let's
elle est
see.
là.
How about you click on, well, I don't know, the copy machine? All right, back to room 417. I'm really feeling it now. I think we're getting somewhere.
T'exagères, hein.
Okay, now go climb on employee 419's desk.
419.
Yes! This is great! You're putting it all on the line, Stanley. I like that. All right, let's keep it up. Go give me a few clicks on door 416.
416. Alors, 416. C'est pas là. J'ai dû louper la 416. Bah, où elle peut être la 416? Bon, je verrai ça plus tard. Je vais faire le new content d'abord. Ah bah.
We've almost got it! Now the copy machine, do that one again!
Ah, le new content apparaît uniquement quand je fais les clics. Ah.
Finish it off, Stanley! 5 clicks on door 430! Yes! We did it! Oh, wow. That felt amazing. Oh, you really earned it, Stanley. Nothing could hold you back. Yes, I'm very proud of how far we've come today.
Si tu le dis. Du coup, ça me débloque ça, les clics. Ok.
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you
Ok.
may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success,
Home Game
it was
Factory.
expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable
Un jeu
Ultra
d'attraction, là.
Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
Bonne question, j'ai pas
Okay,
joué au
so far
premier
it's an
donc.
elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
Et je pense que c'est là que tu vas me faire redémarrer le jeu.
Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's
Du coup, il
do
n'y a pas
it.
d'autres nouveaux contenus, c'est des nouvelles fonctionnalités. Pas de nouvelles fonctionnalités, mais des nouveaux trucs.
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if the... Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
Je suis con.
All right. All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
Ok, bah. On peut sauter au final dans le jeu, mais uniquement ici.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right? Goodness. Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra
Je vais couper la cam, vous
now
savez
with
pourquoi.
over 1,000 hours of new content. And if... Oh, wait. There's more.
Mais je suis toujours là en vocal.
Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
Thank you for enjoying the new content.
That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley?
Ah
This
ouais, je vois
is
ça,
what
hein.
happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's trophies, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test trophy, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say,
Pourquoi pas?
friend?
Mais on n'est pas de retour au bureau là. On a notre bureau, mais une autre sortie.
Psst! Stanley! Come over here! In the vent! I want to show you something!
Ok. Faudrait que je le refasse du coup le
Okay,
chemin.
you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just
Ouais.
our little secret. Take a look. I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC. You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap PlayStation port? Remember back in October of 2013 when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity.
Ah, ça c'est l'une
Back
des
then,
fins que j'ai eues
it
là.
all meant something. Oh, the waste.
C'est là où je suis devenu fou.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them.
Un peu
And now,
exagéré, mec.
it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
On peut pas la scène de maintenance. Comment ils ont créé le jeu quoi.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most
là,
enjoyable,
c'est pour qu'on manque
surprising
de
and
pas avoir
rewarding
le
choices
new
I've
content,
ever
quoi.
been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. All they had to do was transport it in pristine condition along to the PlayStation, boom, done. And they couldn't even do that. Couldn't resist the urge to go meddling with a beloved franchise.
Ils sont sérieux?
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no, oh God, no, Stanley. It's a collection of reviews from Pressurized Gas, the extremely popular online storefront for computer games. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Les critiques.
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny? I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Donc là, je viens de recevoir un message en privé de Vincent, là, parce qu'il a regardé un petit peu mon live. Et le new content est la partie 2 du jeu, donc il vaut mieux le faire un peu plus tard. Tu as encore pas mal de fins à découvrir dans la partie 1 qui est fait le premier jeu en 2003. Enfin, je pense qu'il voulait dire 2013. Ok. Bah du coup, je suis en train de faire la partie 2 pour la partie 1 entièrement. Ah, je l'ai fait au pif, hein. Je savais même pas qu'il y avait une deuxième partie et que j'arriverais au new content. Juste en cliquant sur la porte. Bon, déjà, il y a le fait de ne pas sauter qui m'intrigue lors de l'élévateur, le téléphone, le bouton
While the
on.
idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. I always, well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Oh, dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered. What's this
Tu
one
changes
got
la
to
vie
say?
rien qu'avec les critiques.
You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening.
Il a pas tort la
I
critique
wish
là.
there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Nous avons un bouton passé.
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No, 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 no. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is. So on and so forth, until inevitably, we all, until the end of time, at which... Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary...
On va le passer.
Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours.
Ah oui.
You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're... Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week.
Une semaine.
Or 2 weeks.
Là, des mois.
Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about...
Ah, il parle plus.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed.
Je vais remettre la cam. Faut que j'appuie combien de fois sur le bouton?
Is never the end, 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 is...
Je crois qu'il a bugué la voix du narrateur.
Is never the end, is never the...
Ah, ça commence à se détruire. Peut-être créer une sortie à force. Il fait jour. Bouton. La nature reprend ses droits. Bouton. Ah, la nature a disparu. C'est devenu une nature morte. Désolé. Ah. On va attendre un peu pour voir si on peut réappuyer sur le bouton ou pas. Là. Je crois qu'il en a eu marre. Oh. C'est la fin? Je marche éternellement dans le désert, quoi.
All of his co-workers were... Wait, no. This isn't the right office, is it? Is this Stanley's office?
Ça change à chaque fois, hein. New content.
Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
Bon, on va faire la partie 2, hein, puisqu'on l'a commencé. Donc ça nous emmène directement à la fin.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra-deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra-deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2. Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly port with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions.
No.
This is what fans have truly been asking for.
Ah non, 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 non. Pas d'autre
Calling
chemin.
it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential. Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
Oh, il y en a 1, 2, 3. Ouais, à peu près trop d'endroits.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Ok.
Jim.
Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim watching your dreams crumble into dust. Do you feel it deeply? Are you really, truly Jim right now? If so, then please step forward and press the button.
Jim.
Yes! You see? What a thrill! What a rush! That was you! The button described you. Do it again, do it again.
Jim.
Ooh, it hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the Jim button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation.
Jim.
Whoa there, cowboy. Sometimes a person can be too much Jim. I'm putting the Jim button away.
Jim.
Otherwise,
Jim.
soon you'll start to
Jim.
lose all sense
Jim.
of who you actually
Jim.
are.
Ok. Faudrait un bouton sprint.
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable 2. That would actually save me the work of finishing it. An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, yes, it would go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
Trophée gratuit, trou sans fond, paramètres champion du monde. Trophée gratuit! Pull the lever, receive your new trophy, no more step.
Now, here's something special. You remember that broken test trophy that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the trophy. Yes. You see, you'll come to this... Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the trophy is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Au bout d'un moment, ça va le faire. Apparemment non. Ok, pas de trophée. Trou sans fond et paramètres de champion, c'est ça?
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
Exit.
You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's a... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle? Oh, well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece, then.
No screenshot.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with? You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get Well Someday it is.
Non mais t'es sérieux? J'ai appuyé sur le bleu.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No. No, I've made my decision. We're moving on.
Allons par là.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try. Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on and on, don't they? All this and more awaits you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Je vais garder mon saut là.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Alors, il nous reste quoi à visiter là-bas? Infinity Hall. Les collectibles, exit. The name, the match, setting world. Ah ouais, c'est vrai, j'avais oublié le setting world champion. Il nous reste les 3 derniers et setting world. Ainsi que le merc qui est là. Je vais aller direct. On va dire rien dessus. Il y a là aussi. Ok, bon en fait il n'y avait rien du tout. On va aller voir paramètres champion. Apparemment il n'y a pas de paramètres. Collectible. Et après on va aller au puits sans fond.
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
1 sur 6. Non, vous êtes sérieux?
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game, and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Ok.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right, infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
Vas-y. Hein. Je ne vois plus, bientôt les lumières.
Isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward.
Si j'appuie pas, ça fait quoi?
Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things.
Plutôt proche que lointain.
Okay, Stanley. I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready. Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
Alors, la suite. Je peux pas me débarrasser du saut aussi? Bon, la suite c'est l'exit.
All right. Have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now? So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience.
Ça, c'est une bonne question.
Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2.
Ah, mais ça...
Well, I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on, let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2.
C'est encore pire.
Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Oh là là.
This
ils ont
is
fait
the
fort ce
story
jeu.
of a man named Stanley.
Sincèrement, ils ont fait fort. Hein. Les ballons.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the trophy? Click a door 5 times? Is that all you think a trophy is? Stanley picked up the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this... No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Do not jump. Ah, c'est malin. Ah, il y a une figurine ici. Ah ouais. Là, la vente. Donc le coup du ventilo, il était là en fait.
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Donc faut que je refasse tous les autres chemins avec Stanley 2. Ah ouais. Chaud. Tous les cas, faudrait que je le refasse ce chemin là. Ça m'emmène où là du coup? Enregistrement.
Okay, this is day number 295. Tape number... I don't even know. I've lost track. Nothing feels real anymore. The longer I study this bucket, the less sense anything makes. The sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up. No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling.
Évidence.
And the emptiness in my chest when I set it down. It doesn't make sense. There's no explanation for it. I still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is
Excusez-moi
in
pour
my
le bâillement.
arms. Why everything feels so... What do I do with this treasure? I can monetize it. Yes. It's unthinkable the amounts of money people will pay for even just an hour with the bucket. This is my golden ticket. But I have to be careful, because as soon as this gets out, there's going to be a target on my back. Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get... What's that? Who's there?
Il y a un alien qui l'a bouffé. Un téléphone.
Hi, Stanley. Just wanted to leave you a message to let you know there's a few things I need you to pick up on your way home from work today. We need milk, cereal, dish soap, spaghetti, get a thing of sugar, some bread, and coffee beans, whichever ones you like. I'll give you a call if there's anything I forgot. Thanks, sweetie. See you tonight.
Ok. Je savais pas qu'on pouvait allumer et éteindre les ordi. Et ça fait quoi si j'éteignais tous les ordis?
Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him.
Input. À 8 Monday.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be. Truly, being here with the bucket was a grand adventure. Stanley reflected on all they'd been through together. First, walking through the door on the right, then walking to the lounge, then arriving at the lounge. What a thrilling journey the bucket had inspired.
Faut rester dans la salle de repos, c'est ça?
Perhaps this was where the bucket felt most truly at home, here in the employee lounge. Perhaps it's the only place a bucket can even feel at home.
Désolé les gens.
Stanley decided to just give the bucket absolutely as much time as it needed to be in the lounge. Clearly, the bucket and the employee lounge shared a special connection. But finally, the bucket was done being in the lounge, and they took the first open door on their left to get back to business.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else.
Right là-bas.
A cargo lift, yes. Go. Good.
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Attends, je vais confirmer que la porte est bien verrouillée, fermée. Un badge. Danger everywhere. De B1. De B3.
No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
Ok, donc ça aurait changé si j'aurais pas pris le saut.
Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket? Incorrect. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
T'es sérieux?
Item 2. Is this a bucket? Incorrect. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Non mais... Va tous me les faire. Là si je mets non...
Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a bucket. Item 4. Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a tractor and not a bucket. To be honest, I just sort of put this one in here as a gimme, but I was starting to get concerned that even this might be too much for you. Thank you for not making me look like an idiot. Okay, next one. Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a bucket.
Y a aucune cohérence.
Item 6. Is this a bucket? Trick question. Both. Gotcha. Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere.
Y a rien... Mais oui.
Okay, you and I both know there isn't anything here. And I don't appreciate the implication that nothing is a bucket when we both clearly know that a bucket is something. And therefore nothing could possibly be something. Unless, in your twisted mind, have you somehow convinced yourself that a bucket is nothing? Answer me straight, Stanley. Do you believe that nothing is a bucket? You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket? Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely. Okay, here we go. What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. My God, I had no idea. How could... except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person. All right, here we go.
Et c'est parti, on y retourne. Je me mets en mode
All of his
décontracte.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Là, je vais pas prendre le saut parce que je vais y retourner au monde charge.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
Mais sans le saut,
Perhaps
c'est
he wanted
possible.
to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was grand, majestic, perhaps, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley.
Est-ce qu'on peut
Someone you've
descendre
forgotten
parce que je
about.
vois une porte ouverte là en
Please,
bas.
stop trying to make every decision by yourself.
Oh, j'ai oublié.
Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the... Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, you know, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini Stans? Stanley figurines. What about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
La porte rouge, vas-y. Excusez-moi.
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
Non, je vais à la
I still
porte
don't
de-
think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door. All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you?
Faut que
You don't
j'y
think I
retourne
put
du
a lot
coup.
of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what, let me take a stab in the dark at a new design and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here. Aha! You see, I knew I was onto something. Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know the game needed a third door? Well, it's instinct mostly, a calling in your gut. I really couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul. You can't teach that, Stanley. Don't even try. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Ah ouais.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
Vas-y, crame, hein.
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out, I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
Oh, il y a combien de fois possible dans celui-là?
Aha! Fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley? What's our backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
Ok.
Oh no. No, it can't be.
Qu'est-ce qui n'est pas possible?
It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off. Oh, thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You really wandered off into that thing, that big open, just wandering around, no right or wrong directions, no path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
Nous on est dans quel jeu là?
Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed. Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun. Are you doing it? Hold on. What are you doing?
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
Je suis dans les tréfonds du jeu. Je suis dans les backrooms, c'est ça? Alors là, toutes les possibilités qu'a ce jeu, et c'est inconcevable. Ah, les développeurs, ils ont bien dû en chier pour construire tous les chemins. Ah, c'est une chaise, j'ai cru que c'était quelqu'un.
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
Ah ouais. Encore l'histoire du téléphone là.
Hi, Stanley. Just wanted to leave you a message to let you know there's a few things I need you to pick up on your way home from work today. We need milk, cereal, dish soap, spaghetti, get a thing of sugar, some bread, and coffee beans, whichever ones you like. I'll give you a call if there's anything I forgot. Thanks, sweetie. See you tonight.
Faut le faire 5 fois, c'est ça? Une fois par partie?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. And here it was, the lounge. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not sure, but But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful. Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped very much that it was.
Tu dois voir un truc avec les ordi, non? Input...
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Donc soit je fais le coup du téléphone, soit je retourne vers la porte, bleu et rouge. On va faire ce chemin-là. Ah, ça c'est les statues. Derby Fireplace.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
Alors là, si je vais là, si je vais devenir fou.
You're getting close now, Stanley. You've nearly gotten all of the Figler Anarines. Very soon, you'll collect the last one, and then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then, different in the sense that we used to have none of them, and now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler Anarines. None of us can.
Money in the morning, money in the evening, money for breakfast, money crisp. Même le message il a changé. Il faut vraiment fouiller tous les ordis quoi. Non, il n'y en a pas.
The moment he entered his manager's office, Stanley froze in his tracks. Not a living soul anywhere. Could he really? Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
Ah ouais, quand je le tape le code avant qu'il le dise, ça fait ça aussi. Ok. Ah, c'est malin, hein.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Ah bah voilà.
And there it is, the last Stiggly Wiggly. Savor this moment, Stanley. This is a real accomplishment. This is doing something just for the sake of doing it. Where so many people expect to be rewarded for the most trivial achievements, you've insisted that a job well done is its own reward. I would tell you that I'm proud of you for collecting them all, but that would be like a reward, and we can't have that. So, instead I'll just say, it's done. We're all done here. And now we can go to whatever the hell you were doing before you hunted for figurines. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Donc le 3 et le 4. Donc plus que le 4. Ah non, on peut pas passer par là. Y a rien.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end... Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count, or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever after.
Là, j'ai pas compris sur le compte à rebours. Donc il n'y aurait aucune solution sur le compte à rebours? apparemment.
Stanley, I'm sorry, but I have to put a pause on things. It's those figurines, those figglers. I haven't stopped thinking about them since you nabbed every last one. Wasn't it just the most intrinsically fulfilling moment of your entire life? Didn't it fill you to the brim with inner richness? Yes, I know we're supposed to be telling a story, but won't you please indulge me with one more trip back to the memory zone?
Oh no.
I would love nothing more than to revisit the figurines. Just one more time.
Oh, vas-y, hein. Il nous y emmène direct, c'est ça.
Here's where it all began. The first collectible. Back then, we had no idea of how many of them we'd find. Sure, it said 6 right there on the screen, but how could we know for certain? We were so innocent. We'll never be like that again, Stanley.
7 sur 6.
And here was a second Stanlerine. You
Ouais,
found this
12,
one
quoi.
all on your own, just by poking around in the warehouse. You did that, Stanley. I'll be honest. Back
Là,
then, I
il y a
had no
moyen
faith
d'y
in you
aller,
to find
hein.
any of them, let alone 6. But you continue to surprise me in all sorts of mundane, unremarkable ways. Okay, let's do a little quiz. Which of these rooms was the room you found your third mini Stan? Can you remember?
Oui, les portes.
Hey, that's exactly right. It was here by the red and blue doors. It was the third one. You picked it up, and then after that, you had 3 of them. I'm glad these moments are so crystal clear in your memory, but I shouldn't be surprised. After all, science tells us that it's impossible to forget your third time doing anything.
Les portes mènent au même endroit.
Let's see, what came next? Oh yes, we found a figly in this pink room. Oh,
Pas du tout.
I can't actually say I remember being in this room, but it's here in the memory zone, so it must have happened.
Pas vraiment. C'est pas du tout reproduit ici.
This was a fifth
la
mini
toilette.
stand, and this one was really something special. It was in the boss's bathroom. I remember it so clearly. In fact, because this one is particularly special to me, I made a little video to commemorate the occasion. Enjoy.
Comment on a trouvé celle-là? Dans les chiottes. Comment y aller? Avec une petite intro épique. Sauf quand je l'ai trouvé, c'était pas le bon texte.
Takes you back, doesn't it? I spent a lot of time making that video, but it was 8 minutes I wouldn't have spent on anything else. And then, Stanley, then we came to the last collectible, the final figurine, right here behind the boss's office. This memory is the most distinct and clear in my mind, perhaps because it was the one that happened more recently than all the others. Who can truly say how the mind works? All I know is that this is the moment where you picked up a figly and I thought to myself, yes, that's all of them. They're all collected. It was a moment unlike any other. Except for the other moments picking up figurines, which it was exactly like. And then there was no more, because we've caught up to the present moment. Nothing left to do but move onward into the future. Goodbye, memory zone.
Ok.
No, I'm not done. I'm not ready to move on. Stop the loading screen. Isn't there some way we can stay here, keep enjoying these figurines? Let's just go backwards. We'll do the memory zone again from the opposite direction. See how that feels. Okay, yes, the back of the boss's office. I remember this. I must say, of all the figurines we looked at in our initial tour of the memory zone, this one is the most distinct and clear in my mind. Let's keep going, I want more.
Tu vas nous faire combien de fois le coup des figurines?
And here's where I made that video. Don't you remember the video we watched?
Non, 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 ne la remonte pas. Bon, ça va, tu me la montres en accéléré.
Yes, I love that video.
Et la salle rose, que je ne sais pas pourquoi.
Still don't remember the pink room, Stanley. Still no memory of this one. Good room, though. A solid room. These really were a treat to hunt down. You know, if there had been any kind of reward for finding all of these, it really would have neutered the intrinsic joy of collecting them. I'm very glad we resisted the temptation. Next one. This was our second Figley. Don't you remember? Yes, I remember it too. The past is truly a wonderful thing. Why does anyone ever choose to leave it? Keep going.
Et la première ici.
This is it. The very first one we found in the exhibit where I introduced you to the figurines. Oh, I want more memories, Stanley. I want to keep going.
Ah,
what
non,
else
je vais
is
pas
there?
refaire
What
rien.
came before this? Look, it's the terrible new content that we were originally sold on. I remember hating it back then, but time does put a rosy filter on everything. In fact, I dare say I'm actually quite fond of it now. Look how much fun the past is. I want more. More memories.
Et là, on va revenir au jeu original.
Oh, yes, the two doors. Who could have forgotten that? A classic memory, this one.
Et notre bureau, quoi. Le début du jeu.
And before everything else, there was your office. Is there anything else? Was there something that came before your office? There's something I feel I can remember. I can remember.
Je crois qu'on l'a fait
Yes,
bugger.
I'm remembering something now. I remember before this whole story got started. Back then I was different. I used to make big decisions. I was passionate. I was skeptical.
reviens,
I
je coupe la
weighed
caméra.
each decision with profound thoughtfulness. And then somewhere along the way, I stopped making decisions. I became lazy. And I came up with a character named Stanley to do my thinking for me. He would make the decisions. He would decide which way to go. I would cheer him on as he collected figurines for no reason. Why did I invent Stanley? Was I lonely? Yes, perhaps that's it. Perhaps I needed to imagine I had companionship. And Stanley really did make for a wonderful companion, even if he was a fiction. But I suppose it's grown old. I want to think for myself again. I want to go back to how it used to be. Yes, I can be on my own again. I can do it. I'll be stronger this time. I'll take care of myself. I don't need Stanley anymore. Oh, but he truly was so much fun to play with. You know what? Since we're in the memory zone, how about one more good memory? Let's go back just once and give Stanley one more run of the office, and then I'll retire him for good. I did enjoy telling this story so very much. Okay, here we go. This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Here we go again. Bah, tac.
How wonderful. Stanley was alone. Finally. This is great, he thought to himself. This is what I've wanted all along. I got what I wanted.
Alors, qu'est-ce qu'on pourrait faire?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. It was okay.
Alors, c'est vrai que j'ai un trophée...
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first
Faire la
open door on
partie,
his left.
finir le jeu en moins de 4 minutes, je crois, un truc dans le genre.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Quittez le jeu et relancez-le. Non, sérieux, on a supprimé l'option. Alors,